What does this test match mean, considering that the series is actually dead for Australia?
When you say dead, yeah, it's. I guess you could put it that way, but yeah, there's plenty of positives to come out of it. Obviously, the team's pretty disappointed with the last two games, so it's. I guess it's a retribution match. They've got plenty to prove. They're obviously disappointed with their performances, so I guess it's. Last couple of games they played here in Perth have been quite successful, and the local community's really got around them. So I guess that's definitely one they're going to come here and win the match for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You talk about retribution match. The All Blacks put on their highest score against the Wallabies ever.
Yeah.
What does retribution look like for the Wallabies? Does it mean they have to win, or is it they just have to put on a better performance?
I think it's a better performance. I think just a more balanced performance. I think the last couple of games they've played into the All Blacks' hands. They've tried to play a bit more unstructured. So if they have a good balance between structured and unstructured, I think that's going to reap benefits. So in saying that, they've got a hard task against themselves. The All Blacks are a class outfit, as we're well aware. So it's certainly going to be a challenge, but I think they're definitely up for it, and they're a young squad. So there's obviously plenty of improvement there to have, both from the coaching staff and the players, and I'm interested to see what squad they pick and if there's any changes or not.
Is there pressure on Dave Reggie to get a result as Wallabies coach?
I don't think so. I think it's still early stages. He's only just started, so he's got plenty of time to prove himself, and he's got a good pedigree, so there's plenty of time. Yeah.
Do you think this one's winnable for the Wallabies?
Absolutely, yeah. It's always a chance to win, regardless of who you're playing. They're a great side. They're a very young side, and as I said before, they've got plenty of talent and plenty of improvement to have. So I wouldn't be doubting them. That's for sure. Yeah.
Talk a lot more rugby internationals coming to Perth. How exciting is that if it actually happens?
Super exciting. I don't think we've ever had a potential back-to-back test match here. So I guess the possibility of that happening would be outstanding. And what better way to sort of showcase Australia's 2027 World Cup bid, than having multiple test matches here at Optus Stadium? It'd be a sensational opportunity to have here.
Peter, obviously being a former Wallaby in Australia, bidding to host the World Cup in 2027. Do you have any memories of being a player around the World Cup, or even before that as a child? Any memories around that World Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. 2003 it was my last year at school, so I guess that shows my age. But yeah, I had some very fond memories. I was playing rugby at school. Didn't know what I wanted to do after school in terms of sporting wise, and it was great to see the not only the Australian team, but just every asset of Sporting Australia was booming at the time. A couple of years before that, we had a British Irish Lions tour, and I was pretty lucky to go to some of those games in Canberra. And just that time around, obviously the Olympics in 2000 as well, was just a boom time for Australian sport, and so that's a very fond memory of mine. Those sort of, especially those formative first 3 years in the 2000s. So yeah, very fond memories.
And following from that, what do you think it would mean for sort of young fans to have another World Cup here in 2027 since came out of school, and that mental opportunity? What do you think it would mean for young fans to experience that World Cup?
It'd be everything. I think just showcasing the rugby community, what we have here. It's a great opportunity to not only showcase the games, but obviously go to the community all throughout Australia, not just here in Perth, and showcase exactly what we have to offer. We've got plenty of world-class venues, and obviously with other venues coming up in the Women's World Cup in a couple of years' time, that's going to showcase what we have.
Peter, just on another thing, there's been a lot of talk about changing the Giteau law. Any thoughts on that one? Whether it's a good thing for Australia, or should we stick with what we've got?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I wouldn't put our eggs on the one basket. I think it's a good opportunity, but I wouldn't be jumping at the case to bring all these players back home. It certainly could strengthen the side, but it's not going to solve our issues at the moment. I think we just got to continue what we're doing, and if there's some players that could add benefit to the squad, so be it. But that's up to the coaches and their decision-making process.
I guess it's a rock and hard place, isn't it? Because you want to play for a successful side. If the Wallabies aren't successful, you're not earning the money. You can earn big money overseas. It must be hard for players to make that decision.
Yeah, I guess it is. everyone's different. Everyone's got their own sort of their own evaluation in how they go about their career, whether they decide to leave early and come back later, whether they decide to go early and stay overseas. It's like it all comes down to the player development and where they see themselves. And some people might have more I guess, emphasis in, more benefit in the Australian jersey than others, and it all comes down to the individual. But if we can strengthen our domestic competition, our local players, it's only going to benefit the Australian rugby side.
I think you mentioned player development at a lower age, if you like, a younger age, and bringing more players through the club system, perhaps another NRC is pretty crucial for rugby, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously it goes without saying, but obviously grassroots is where it's at. If you can strengthen that, it's going to filter up to the Wallabies. So everyone knows that. It's just about harnessing that sort of ethos.
I'd like to introduce Nathan Charles, CEO of Rugby WA and former Wallaby.
Nathan, the Premier said that they've changed the travel restrictions between New Zealand and WA to low risk, which will include quarantine and stuff. What would that mean for the All Blacks coming in and the game going ahead?
That's a really good question. I actually don't know. I believe they've got a quarantine for 2 weeks. We're all really hopeful that the game will go ahead, and it's going to be a huge boost for rugby in WA, from the economy point of view, but also for the grassroots and the community game. So I think, if we can be flexible to make it work, it's going to be a great event, and I'm really looking forward to being there on the 28th of August at Optus Stadium.
Will you lobby the government to put, say, like a different restrictions around the All Blacks, maybe like a 7-day quarantine that lets them fly in and then at least get one training session before a game?
Honestly, mate, these questions are well above my head. I can't give you an answer on that, so just no comment.
I guess speaking
Yeah.
on behalf of rugby fans here in Perth, though, it's hopeful that the Premier said they'll do everything they can to make it happen. So that sounds promising.
Absolutely, and I think what we've seen over the last couple of months as well, we've got to be very agile in our environment. It's happened with the AFL, NRL, all the major sporting codes. They've had to provide a bit of flexibility. And a game of this magnitude, I think there will have to be some sort of flexibility. What that looks like, I don't know. But it'd be hugely disappointing to not see this game go ahead at Optus Stadium in Saturday week. So it's definitely one that I'm looking forward to watching, and I think it's going to be an amazing game after what we saw in 2019. Sold out crowd, a mix of Aussies and All Blacks, and all in all, we just want to see a fantastic performance on the pitch.
It's been heartening to see the uptake, even though the game's been moved once and then I think it's almost sold out again. It's been heartening to see the uptake by the WA public.
Absolutely. I think one thing about the WA community is we love our rugby and we want to see more of it here, especially the green and gold. 2019 was a great example of the support that the Wallabies have over in Western Australia, and that's just growing year by year. So we get behind our national team and we want to see them succeed, and we want to see them live as well. And we think we've got a fantastic stadium at Optus to be able to provide a great experience not only for the players, but also for our community and our fans to go and watch and have a great match day experience.
Nathan, despite the result, having a test match here in Perth is extremely valuable. You have a number of events coming up with long lunch. What does it mean to you guys to have big events like the Bledisloe for the community game?
Yeah, it's huge for the community game. As you mentioned, we have a Bledisloe long lunch on Friday the 20th, so this Friday, where it's basically we're getting the rugby community together. We're celebrating what rugby is, the people that want to be a part of it, and most importantly, the money that's raised from the lunches that we have all goes back to grassroots and community rugby and developing our game over here in the West. So it's just amazing to get people together with the same mindset, wanting to celebrate, listen to people talk like the two people behind me that'll be present there on the day as well, and have a great time. And that's what rugby's about. It's about celebrating the game. It's about bringing people together in a community and ultimately giving back.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned before, 2027 World Cup will obviously take some advantages from that, and that was happening in Perth, a couple of games.
Absolutely. I think Peter mentioned before the opportunity that we have potentially coming up around having more test matches here back to back. We get to show what Perth can offer from a facility point of view, but also from a support point of view. And I know for one, I'll be going to every single test match that's been played in Western Australia. whoever is playing. So, you know, I love my rugby, and I know everyone else in WA does, and it is a great opportunity to show what we have as a state, but also as a community.
I can confidently say, mate, that Rugby WA are fully behind 2027.
Rugby WA are fully behind, and we've been involved in the process so far, and it's been very exciting to fully understand what we can offer as a state, and to know that we're only one of 3 stadiums within the country that can host certain criteria games. So that just shows the magnitude of Optus Stadium, what it can do, and again, as I said before, the match day experience that we can have and provide the entire rugby community, irrelevant of the international.
Nathan, you played the All Blacks twice. Probably not so many good memories on that second one. What does it mean for what is it about that game? Traditional rivalry, no, but there's more than that, isn't there?
Yeah, I've got 2 games against the All Blacks, and I've got 2 scars to remind me of them as well. You know, I know Richard can comment, but you know, I would comfortably say behind a Rugby World Cup final, playing the All Blacks in a Bledisloe game is probably something you dream about as a kid. And for me personally, I got the 2 test matches. There's one in my hometown of Sydney, and the other one was at Eden Park, where it's the revered place you want to go play, and you want to buck that trend. And something that I was unsuccessful in, but it was an experience and an opportunity that I'll never forget. Being able to get to play against the best country in the world, the fierce rivals, and to fight off for that Bledisloe Cup is something that I grew up as a kid dreaming about.
Got a draw in the first game. What was that? What was the scar from that game? We know what it was for the second game.
I got a nice little clip above the eye, but you know, we talk about community, and there was one moment in that game at the end of it. You know, after 80 minutes, it was 12-all, and I was on the ground absolutely exhausted, and Kevin Mialamu, who's a childhood hero of mine, comes over and picks me up off the ground and just said, fantastic game. And I think that's what rugby's about. I think that shows a lot about even though it's a fierce rivalry, the mateship and the camaraderie we have and the respect we have between the 2 countries, that you leave it all out in the field and you give it 110%, but after the game, you enjoy each other's company and respect what we put out there.
Finally, introduce Western Force superstar and former All Black Kahui.
You said much better, sorry. Sorry, where am I?
Richard, what does this game mean for the All Blacks, and do you have a foot in both camps now?
Well, not a foot in both camps, but for the All Blacks, any game against the Wallabies, it's massive. The Bledisloe Cup is, outside of the World Cup, is the cup we cherish most. So they'll be coming here with the intention to make it a whitewash. And they showed that first 2 games at Eden Park. They're a good outfit, but I think there's a lot of positives, even though it was a large defeat in that second test for the Wallabies. I think there's a lot of positives there. You can see there's a real attacking mindset. It's just probably being a little more mature in the decision making. I think that's the difference. But Bledisloe Cup sits as big as they get, and here at Optus Stadium, what a place to play.
The Wallabies have a good record here. They won a couple of years ago. Do you expect it to be closer than the Eden Park result?
I think it has to be closer than Eden Park. But yeah, like I said, I think the Wallabies, their first game, they showed a lot of promise, and they showed areas of weakness in the All Blacks game. And for the first half of the second test, they did the same. So I don't feel as though Aussie can't score enough points to win. That's half of it, and then the other half is obviously stopping the All Blacks. And I think they gave the All Blacks some easy points, which let them run away with the game. So I do think Aussie can, if not win, at least push the All Blacks. But here in Perth, they've had a good history of playing footy here in Perth against the All Blacks, and they'll get a massive crowd. Almost all the tickets are sold, so it'll be a huge crowd, both Wallabies and Kiwis, and it'll be great to see a great game of footy.
Have you spoken to any of the All Blacks players about the uncertainty around when they're actually going to get here and when the game will go ahead?
No, I haven't sent a message yet. I talked to Dave Rennie yesterday, but we're like everybody else, just unsure what's happening. I know the All Blacks have been on leave, spending some time with their families before they come over here. So, but as for when they get here or how they get here, I'm not sure. But I'm sure everybody in Australia and New Zealand and in WA want this game to go ahead.
Mate, you've seen a lot of changes over the years from the World Cup win onwards. Where do you see this All Blacks team?
Where do I see this All Blacks team? I think there's it's still young. It's still a young team. I know there's a lot of experience mixed throughout, but there's a lot of young faces in that team. You know, you're starting to see guys like Richie Mo'unga who are putting pressure on guys who are starting ahead of guys like Beauden Barrett. So not a changing of the guard, but look, it is quite a young All Black side, and there's a lot of points in that team. There's a lot of X factor, but I think overall as a team they'll still feel like they've got a lot of room to improve. I think it's probably not the best team of the last few years, but it's certainly going in that direction.
And you'd still been playing over there with some of these, probably in kindy, very young anyway. You've seen them come through the club system that you were in.
Yeah, you don't need to be so hurtful. But, yeah, like I know I've played with a few of these guys as well, like Sam Whitelock's still playing, Brody Retallick, guys like that. But like we talk about World Cups and how they can inspire generations, and looking at that 2027 World Cup bid here, I know in 2011 it was absolutely infectious throughout the whole country and inspired another generation of rugby players. And you know, from town to town, whether it was the All Blacks or any other international team, there was tons of support. So having a World Cup or even a Bledisloe Cup game like this next weekend, it's huge to inspire that next generation, give them something to inspire to play for.
What have you made of the support for rugby since your arrival? Has it surprised you how much support there is here in Perth, or were you expecting it?
Yeah, it was surprising, to be honest, and there's a huge appetite for rugby here in WA. I think if you look at the club scene, like the top 10 teams are all really high quality and in touch with each other in the club comp, and then obviously Force being put back into Super Rugby, we had great crowds. We started towards the end of the year, started playing some good footy and had some success, and I think inspired a lot of rugby players throughout the club scene here in Perth that, hey, there is a team to aspire to play for. And then to have games like these international games here at Optus Stadium, that's the pinnacle. And the fact that every time the games come here there's a sellout crowd just shows you how much Western Australia wants rugby.
How much do you think that success of the Force in making a Super Rugby final series for the first time, what do you think the flow-on effects of that are?
Yeah, I think it's like being back in Super Rugby and having a team to play for, that's the biggest thing. And then second to that is having a successful team. And I think as a team, if we can be more successful, okay, we made our first sort of finals bid this year, and we were disappointed with the result in the end, but I think the support that we had and the amount of people we had talking about rugby again was really positive. And I think for us it's really important as a team. Obviously we want to win, but we know that we want to inspire that next generation, and part of that is winning. So we've already started smashing into each other already for pre-season and preparing for that 2022 season.
After 2 seasons back in Super Rugby, do you feel, as someone who's come in sort of after the bloodletting of 2017, do you feel the vindication that the Force are back in national comp?
Yeah, we talked a lot about it. Obviously there's a huge transition for the teams, right from, I feel like almost going from semi-professional to professional again. There was a bit of a transition period, coaches and players sort of learning what the level of Super Rugby is, and I feel like we've gotten over that now. So now it's time to grow and be better, and I think Rugby WA and the Force have put a lot of emphasis on trying to grow homegrown talent, and things like bringing the Western Force back to WA and test matches to WA. That's part of that pathway to get guys back into rugby.